Relevant. Radio Cayman since 1976.
The Business Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services.
And 100% Math. Invest in your child's academic success. Visit 100%math.com or call 547-9817.
And now, Radio Cayman presents The Business Buzz, an insightful and fresh take on a variety of issues that impact the local business environment. This is where we address the business topics that matter. Here's your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning, Cayman. How's everybody out there doing today? I am feeling it. I'm up. The coffee is coughing. Remember last time I was like, oh, this coffee's not working on me, but here we are. Maybe it's because it's still the beginning of a new week for me. So I'm feeling it today, definitely this morning. I hope everybody else is. I know you're on your way into work this morning, stuck in some traffic, some of you, but you're going to enjoy our first conversation that we have this morning. We're putting the spotlight on a local vocalist, musician, and DJ, Cam Kline. So good morning, Cam, and welcome to the Business Buzz.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
Couldn't be better. It's a beautiful morning.
It is a beautiful morning. We're feeling bright and sunny this morning.
Absolutely.
Sure. You were just telling me before the show started that you're just coming back from a trip, right?
Yeah, we were, well, as a lot of people may know, I'm still a high school student, or those that know me. So kind of separating my life between student and musician. And so student life, I was on a school sports trip to Colombia. Very tired from that, still recovering from a 30-hour no sleep day of traveling and everyone getting sick and everything, all of the above. So that's always a fun thing to start the week off with.
Well, you're learning young, Cam, because none of us sleep when we go to Colombia.
Absolutely.
It's that kind of a place. You just have fun, and there's so much to do, and it's great excitement all the time. So,
yeah. Well, they've got good coffee there, so
they do. Colombian coffee is definitely my favorite. So I'd have to say, although I got some Costa Rican coffee right now, so I'm going off that. But Colombian coffee is definitely the favorite for me. I feel like you're young to be knowing about coffee here, but
you gotta learn at some point, right?
Well, so tell us, I was on your website last night a little bit, so I was checking your website out to get a little bit background information, and you describe yourself as an artist with a rock country vibe, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So tell us, who is Cam Kline?
Well, kind of grew up in a lot of different musical environments. Like I grew up in my parents' college music, which would have been like 2000s and 90s. So Three Doors Down, Matchbox 20, Goo Goo Dolls. And so that's kind of where like that rock comes from, and as well as Nickelback, if many people know them. But then my personal interest was country music for a long time from other family members and just from myself. And so I always mixed those into like as covers. That's what I would play. So a lot of when I am playing at restaurants and hotels and bars and things like that, a lot of the things I'll be singing are those types of songs. And then I typically add my own kind of folk country twang to those things. It's just, I love the music. I love all of it. It's super fun to play.
I'm surprised to hear that country is more of your vibe, that you like that a little bit more.
Yeah, no, so. I've always, it's kind of just spoke to me a lot more than anything. The way the lyrics were, like it tells a story better than any other genre. I mean, it is all about telling that story of life. And so singing it and being able to do things like that, you can put a lot more feeling into it. And I feel that hits a lot more people in a better way.
It does. So I'm not the biggest country fan at all, so I can't really say much about it there.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's an acquired taste.
Yes, but you're right. There's some great country singers out there, and you can't help but absolutely love their music. So
exactly,
I agree on the storytelling aspect of country music. Tell us how your music journey began.
Well, I was extremely young. I've always been into it. You still are
pretty young.
Yeah, I'm still pretty young now. I can't really say that, but I was probably 3 or 4 when we found out that I had like perfect pitch. I had this octopus, and it had these little tentacles, and I would squeeze them, and they'd each make a sound, and I was able to play like Happy Birthday on it. And my parents were like, that's really strange. Like of all the things to be able to do that. So then it turned into, let's get him a keyboard and just see what happens. And I would like pluck around, and I grew up watching not classic movies. I know that'll make a lot of people angry, but like Top Gun and Titanic and things like that.
Those are classic movies.
Those are classic. Yeah. They're good. And as well as Days of Thunder, good Tom Cruise stuff. And so I would learn I would hear the themes, and I'd love them. And I'd pluck around on this little piano with the themes of those songs. And my parents were like, at this point, we just put them in lessons. So I started on piano. And
at what age did you start piano?
I was 5. probably when I started taking
Wow.
lessons. And then did that for 5 years, and eventually my 10th birthday I got a guitar, and that because I was just always in awe of it. I loved it. It's such an amazing instrument, and it's mobile. You can do a lot with it. So I said, I want to try it out, and that's when kind of that took off.
Okay.
And then as for kind of the whole live music part, I had a huge fear of singing. I still do, weirdly enough. Like if it was in a small environment with some random people, I'm still nervous. But getting on stage, it eases it a bit. But up until 14 or 15, I would not sing in front of anybody. And then Mr. Owen Hughes, which many of you probably know who that is, the violin guy with Dave Hennessy, he's incredible. He taught me how to play the guitar and a lot of the things, and he got me singing and doing my first open mic nights, and that's where that all started. It was nights at the Bird, and he got me out of my shell, and it just kind of took off from there.
And I'm not going to ask you how old you are because that can be a rude question. But you did mention that you are a high school student.
Yes.
So which grade are you in?
I'm in 11th grade, so I'm a junior. Still got one more year to go after this one, but this is the big year
Okay,
for
so
applications and whatnot.
our listeners can kind of piece that together, what age you might be then.
Yes.
And to know that you started playing at the Bird?
I did. I know.
Hope it
Kind of
wasn't
an
those
interesting
crazy Friday
environment.
nights,
Yeah, Tuesday nights there. Well, everyone there
Okay,
is so
okay.
welcoming. I mean,
They
the
are.
community on this island is unlike anywhere else. And like, 'cause I've played in Orlando in the bar scene there, and I've been to other places as well as Colorado and a lot of other places in Florida, and the community here is so much more welcoming, and the talent here is incredible. I mean, guys like Dan Ebanks and Max Kazakov and Rico, like they kind of built me up. They took me under their wing and taught me everything, and are huge supporters, and I envy them and look up to them. I did from a young age, and so I wouldn't have that support group anywhere else in the world, honestly, and this is an amazing place for that.
Awesome. Let's back it up a second there.
Absolutely.
So you started with piano, basically, for about 5 years, so about age 5 to 10.
Yep.
What made you kind of stop with piano, or did you stop, really?
I never really stopped. I did at some point, but that was at the point when I started doing live music, when I was singing and playing the guitar. I just drifted away from it because of my focus of being an instrumentalist into being a performer. So as an instrumentalist, I'm focusing on being really good at each instrument I play, and then just that. But at one point I was like, well, I'm looking at the guitarists and I'm seeing these guys. I'm like, they're super cool, but I want to be that guy right in the middle who's there singing and playing. And I'm like, I can't really do that.
You just
as an
didn't want to
instrumentalist.
just be the bassist.
Exactly.
Or
It's like,
drummer,
why would I want to? I could do this. Why would I want to be that? And that's because of watching a lot of other live musicians. I'm like, that's who I want to be.
You like the spotlight a little bit more.
I do. Indeed.
Which was kind of uncanny because at the same time you said that you were really shy to sing.
Yes. I was so scared. I would not do it. Like it would really make my parents angry because they're like, why? It's just for us. It's your family. And I just would refuse. I was so scared.
And you still have a little bit of those nerves today when you perform, which I
do
think is really
indeed.
natural. We all have a little bit of people. It could be nerves or anxiety, or what people like to term butterflies. But I think that also shows how excited we still are about something, because I think it's very natural for people to have that. Oh, how is this going to go? But when you're out there, it's a whole different cam, right?
Yeah. I mean, the simple way to put it is we're all people. Everybody's a person. So you see these guys playing in these massive stages. I guarantee you before they get out there, they're going to be shaking a little bit. Like there's going to be some nerves. I mean, we're just people. We've got the same instinct.
Now, I saw on your website, like first, I think you're kind of a multidisciplinary musician, right? So you can do piano, guitar. I know there's some other instruments that you play, because it doesn't just stop there. So let us know what else you play.
Yeah. So, well, I'd had my little middle school band era. We played trumpet,
Hey,
as everybody has to go through that. And then,
I think mine was recorder.
yeah.
And then I moved to guitar, so I get it.
But yeah, most things with strings. So guitar, bass, actually a little bit of banjo, ukulele, the lap steel. Working on that one. The dobro is a really amazing country instrument. I worked on the violin for a little bit, but ended up dropping that. It was too much to
That's
handle.
my favorite.
I know. I love the sound of it, and I always liked the fiddle. And so I was so invested in wanting to do it, but it was at a time when I was just starting live music, so it kind of faded out because I was so focused on getting into the industry.
Okay. And
But
you- drumming, is that one of the
I
things
do
as
also
well?
drum. Yeah, I
Okay.
do that. That helped with DJing. That's what kind of got me into that era of the music industry.
And DJing. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're throwing that in there too.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's
So
a lot.
A whole bunch of different genres. Do you have a a favorite instrument, basically, that you like to play?
It's whatever's in my hand at the moment, honestly.
Really?
It's one of my favorite questions people ask, because it's like, I can't really pick it. I just love, if I'm playing music, I'm happy. If I've got a guitar in my hand, that's my favorite. If I'm playing the piano, that's my favorite. If I'm on the drums, that's my favorite. Like, it is what it is.
But you kind of more gravitated towards string instruments.
I did. I spent a lot more time on it because it's the most practical, right? For what, if you, as a musician, what you really want, because you can use it as a percussive instrument. You can use it as a melodic instrument. You can use it as the background. I mean, it does everything right there at the fingertips, so.
And I assume it was an acoustic guitar that you were given at 10?
Actually, it was an electric.
Really? Because they say you got to learn an acoustic.
I know, right? But no, I went to electric because we didn't know. My parents knew nothing about music. So they were like, well, let's just get him. What everyone wants to do is be the guitar solo guy. And so learning chords on electric guitar, which a lot of people do. It was different. But I actually gravitated from that to acoustic. Yeah, it is. It's quite difficult because you don't have that, like, I don't even know that percussive element. Right, because it's just pure electric. But I gravitated to acoustic from that, which most people do the opposite.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
I think I meant acoustic's a little harder. For me, it was a lot harder. I know when
absolutely,
back in the day, for me at least.
Yeah, no, the thicker strings and the thicker neck. It's definitely it's difficult, but that's what makes it good to learn on, because if you nail that one down, you're good from there.
And two totally different sounds, but beautiful sounds, because I love the acoustic element, and I think most of us can say we love that. There's just something beautiful about an acoustic guitar and a voice, and that's it. That brings out a whole different kind of feeling when you can just get an amazing vibe with just those two kind of instruments, your voice and a guitar, right?
Absolutely. It's the resonance of it. It has its natural reverb, and it's unlike anything. I mean, you have it's that soul feeling like we were talking about earlier that everyone gravitates to.
And that fits your country vibe.
It does indeed.
But then we like to rock out a little bit. And
of course, which you got to be able to, you got to have that mix, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so growing up now, you said that your parents didn't play any instruments, or they
My mom can't even whistle.
This is hilarious.
Yes.
And you have such an amazing musical talent. So this was a talent that you had from basically you were born.
Yeah, it was that thing I was gifted with. Everyone's got that one thing, and that was mine. And it's like, my parents are not musical. My mom can't whistle. Like my dad didn't play any instruments growing up, like nothing.
What about in their families? Was there any history of musicians?
Not really. I mean, his dad played the drums.
Okay.
But like, that was really it. He was a pretty good drummer. He had his own little garage band, but there was no one did it like as a job. No one, not even many people, did it as a hobby. It was never really a big thing in my family. My dad always jokes. He was like, everything I wanted to be, I gifted it to you. You're tall, you play music, you do all those things. He goes, so you should thank me because I gave you that. I was like, oh, yes, thank you.
He gave you the skills that he doesn't necessarily have, which is kind of interesting.
Exactly. He passed them on, so he couldn't take them, so he gave them to me instead.
He manifested them in you. Well,
absolutely.
That's what we'll go with. Well, that's good. That's not bad. I guess they had to have, hopefully, some good musical taste, because it seems like you really do as well. So.
Oh, yeah. I love their music. What
was your exposure growing up to, listening to music with them? What did they expose you to?
I mean, everything. It was car rides. We listened to, like I said, like the 80s and 90s stuff, Matchbox 20 and the Goo Goo Dolls and Live, and then some of the newer stuff like Chris Daughtry, back when, this is, again, most of what I grew up on was 2000s, 80s, and 90s. And I loved all of that stuff. It was my parents' college music and their high school music. And then I loved all of those bands. Like, my first concert was Matchbox 20, which, as a 9-year-old or 8-year-old kid and born in 2006, that's not normal, right?
Well, now we know closer to the age you are. That's okay. I was going to say, but we know you're a 2000s baby. Yes. Wow. So you got into the 90s music. So do you think a lot of people say that that's kind of the best genre of music? What do you think about that?
It was one of the best years. I think if you really look at those, like, it's those songs that you forget you loved.
Yes.
Right? Like, everyone sings along with it. If you hear Lightning Crashes, or you hear Unwell, or Iris, that is now recirculating, weirdly enough. It's coming back into the spotlight. Everyone loves those songs.
Yes.
Like, they're so iconic.
I haven't heard Lightning Crashes in forever. And last night when I was on your site, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much this song meant to me. And I think I learned how to play that on guitar. So that just brought me back to kind of that time, that era. And it's just such great music. So I think that I love that your parents exposed you to different music, because that helped I think develop what your taste is and help tune your ear a bit and figure out kind of the avenue that you want to go in.
Absolutely. And it's funny what you just said there. That's exactly what like my purpose and what my goal to do is in music is play those songs that you forget you loved. So when you hear them, you light up instantly. It's like, I haven't heard that song in 10 years.
Yes.
What an amazing song. And that's like every time I'm playing at places like the West End of these hotels with the tourists that are coming in and they're like, I never thought I'd hear this song again, more or less live. This is so cool. They're like, and I love seeing the reactions. That's my favorite part of all of it.
Awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
We got to go to a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to hear more about where you like to play, what you're trying to do with music, where you're trying to head with it, and then we'll be back after this commercial break.
Perfect.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Maud Bush, 1887 to 1950.
Maud Bush of South Sound was trained as a nurse and a midwife by Dr. Overton in the 1920s. She delivered babies from Newlands to Georgetown, often for free, as the poor people had no means to pay. She never turned down a patient. She delivered babies until her health failed her shortly before her death. She was always in great demand. She had no children of her own, but she always referred to the babies she delivered as her children.
The Rotary Cayman Islands Sunset $10,000 raffle, happening Saturday, May 25th. Tickets only $10, 3 tickets only $25, 5 tickets for $40 from any Rotary Sunset member. All proceeds will support Rotary Sunset community projects including Feed Our Future, the Sunrise Adult Training Center, Adopt a School program, the Marie Martin Georgetown Primary School, the Crisis Center, and many more. The new Rotary Sunset Club. NPO number 656. Get your ticket, get your chance. Rotary Sunset, creating hope in the world.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Elevate your child's math skills with 100% math with premier math tutoring services under the expert guidance of our renowned mathematicians, Professor Emeritus Romain Angeloff and Dr. Mackenzie. Programs are designed to secure IB, HL, and SL math, CSEC A-levels, and IGC SE success. Whether your child aims to get ahead or catch up, 100% Math is your partner in achieving their academic goals. Don't let your child's math skills lag. Visit us at 100%math.com or call or WhatsApp 547-9817.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
Capella Music Festival is back on Saturday, April 27th at the Festival Green at Camana Bay, featuring a jam-packed lineup of local performers and international stars. With reggae royalty, Damian Jr. Gonmarley, soft rock heavyweight, Richard Marx, dance pop star, Becky Hill, Afrobeat star, Ira Star, soca sensation, Guess the Band, and world champion DJ, DJ Buffy. Purchase your tickets now at CapellaMusicFestival.com.
CUC Advisory. Customers are advised of a scheduled outage on Thursday, April 25th between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. for Crichton Drive and all side roads in Crystal Harbor. For more information, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
If you're a parent, you know that providing your child with a quality early childhood education can be expensive. However, the Ministry of Education offers financial assistance through its Early Childhood Assistance Program to help qualifying Caymanian families cover the costs at registered early childhood settings. Visit our online application portal at moeapplications.gov.ky to learn more and get started. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Education.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
We're talking about some of the music here that Cam Kline loves. We're here on the Business Buzz this morning. I'm talking to a local musician. He is a DJ, a guitarist, a performer. He can play the drums, trumpet, piano. There's so many instruments. He's a multidisciplinary musical artist. Welcome back to the Business Buzz, Cam.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You just asked me what some of my favorite bands are, but I want to know who some of your favorite bands are or musicians.
Well, at the moment, it's Zach Bryan, for sure. He's this new it's a new version of country, but it's kind of bringing back old folk country, and he's just so amazing with his lyrics and the stories he writes with his songs. I cover them all the time. It's the most similar to my style. But then I also love Three Doors Down and the Goo Goo Dolls, and I love Luke Combs and Zach Brown Band and a little bit of Garth Brooks and a lot of those guys.
Okay, all right. Well, I like the taste there. It's definitely a little all over the place.
Absolutely.
And different decades as well. So you don't just stick with, your 2000s music. So I think that's one of the things I like most about hearing about your musical journey is just especially your ear when it comes to like the 80s and 90s music. You're pretty tuned in there, not to use a bad pun, but that's where you're at.
It's one of my favorite eras for music, for sure.
How do you think, like Cayman is a big fan of country, right?
Yeah.
Big country scene here in that sense. How do you think Cayman has influenced your musical style?
I'd say more with the soulfulness. Cayman is very kind of like singer-songwriter. Like they like that just solo vibe. Obviously, we have our island style music with High Tide and guys like that. But like they're a lot. When you really listen to it, it's pretty soulful. Like island music is quite similar to country. And so I've taken that and kind of just merged it. Now, most of my stuff is mainly like Western country, Northwestern country. But I just think the island has kind of kept me on that straight path because of how much they like it.
Right.
And how much support I've gotten, which I didn't really expect. I thought it's like 50-50 because some people hate it. Hate it. And and like a lot of my friends, they laugh about it. They're like, why do you listen to that stuff? I'm like, well, it's like if you really think about it and you really listen to it, everyone likes country. Everyone likes Wagon Wheel. Everyone likes those kinds of songs. So it's like, just find songs like that. You can stick to it and you'll love it.
I'm going to note down Wagon Wheel. I don't think I know this song.
Oh, you know it when you heard it for sure.
Okay, all right.
It's like hearing Wonderwall. It's like one of those.
Okay. I know people are going to be like, she doesn't know Wagon Wheel. But you won't find me at a country event most likely.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe.
Yeah.
I got to listen to you perform. So now that I know a little bit about you and especially seen on your website some of the songs that you do perform, some of the covers that were there. Do you ever perform your own music? Are you trying to go into that avenue a little bit?
So I'm working on it. One of the things I struggle with severely and like severely struggle with is songwriting. I can make melodies.
Okay.
So the actual production behind it, so making the music. Because I produce house music as well as for DJing, I make techno and tech house. And so when it comes to making the melodies and making all the music and instrumentals, I can do that like that.
Okay.
But writing lyrics, I really struggle with. So I've actually been working with a good friend of mine that I've grown up with a long time, and she's amazing with like writing lyrics. But she's like, but I can't do melodies. So we've kind of worked back and forth. Well, she'll send me some lyrics, and then I have a melody right off the top of my head, and we've got 3 so far. But we're just trying to refine it and practice that because it's getting there. But that's what I'm working on. And she's teaching me how to write lyrics, and I'm helping her with melodies, and it's a really good balance.
I love that. That's a great partnership.
Absolutely.
I think you have such a huge advantage because to me, some of the biggest songwriters and most successful in the world were all pianists. They all have a background in piano.
Yeah, for melody and writing melody, it's the best instrument because it's just
absolutely.
It's everyone. If you're writing a song, if you're laying out the base of it, you're gonna use it. You're gonna use a keyboard. Like it's gonna happen. It has to.
And it's interesting because you love the storytelling aspect of country.
Yeah.
You were nervous to sing, so I think that's still in you somewhere that you just have to, as you're doing right now, you just kind of have to nurture it. So I'm glad that you're working with a friend that is more of a writer that can kind of help you along that path, because just like the singing live and performing live wasn't necessarily your thing.
Yeah.
That came out, and now look at where you are, what you're doing, right?
I always like to say this thing that my dad taught me from a young age was like, you're never the smartest person in the room. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. You're not born with everything, right?
Right.
One of my things is I'm naturally good at melodies and musical stuff, but I really suck at lyrics. But that doesn't mean you can't learn it one day or use the resources around you.
Right.
There's no issue with not being able to do it. Just find someone who can and work with them.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that's how you'll build that skill, and that's one of my goals is to learn and have people teach me. And that's been my biggest thing with music industry is just how many different opinions can I get and how much can I learn through because I'm so young. I've got a long way to go.
Exactly.
So just gather as much as you can
Yeah.
at all time. That's some advice that if anyone's listening wants to get into music, just get as much advice as you can and as much practice and as many viewpoints, and just try to make your own way with it.
Where do you want to go with music? What do you want to do? Do you want this as a career?
I would do anything to have it as a career. I'm actually going to be moving to Nashville for college, an amazing school for any audio engineers out there. I know you were one of those.
I did study, yeah.
Belmont in Nashville is one of the best for music business and audio engineering in the world. And obviously in Nashville, it's Music City. So I'll be going to university there and living there and trying to make my way. This whole school is built around the CMA industry. And they have 90,000 square feet worth of studio space that they own throughout Nashville, and I think even in other cities. And as a student there taking the courses, you get free access and like no waiting list, whereas it would be like $1,500 to $1,800 an hour and a 2-month waiting list against people like Luke Combs and Alan Jackson.
Right. To book a studio space.
Like of the best in the world with the best technology. And so, and then they have all of their professors there are award winners and people like CMA award winners, ACM winners, Grammy winners. Like one of the people that Brad Paisley comes in all the time, Russell Dickerson, a lot of these amazing people, like they're all about giving you this support group. And if you use the resources, you're going to go somewhere. So like, we're going to give you all the tools. It's a matter of can you use them or not.
Right. And being in the right kind of space at the right time.
Yeah.
It's not an easy industry to break into.
No, especially there. There's so much competition in Nashville. There's so much talent. But as they said, they're like, if you simply just use everything we give you and don't squander it, you should be okay.
Okay. Nice. Now, we want to know where you perform, because I know you first mentioned you kind of broke out with the Bird. Basically, that's where you started. So where else on island can people find you? Where do you perform? How do people book you?
Well, I've got a residency at the White Whale downtown every single Thursday from 6
residency.
To 8. So you can call it that. Everyone, yeah.
That's awesome.
Fancy term there, but that's when I'm there every single Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
For happy hour. Beautiful sunset view.
Nice.
Good cocktails, good food. I'm at the Westin on the poolside quite often. I'm probably about 2 to 3 times a month.
Okay.
Every Friday from 6 to 8. Or not every Friday, but on Fridays 6 to 8. And then I'll play at the Roost here and there. I'll play at the Hive. Like I bounce around all the time. Sometimes I used to have a Saturday night residency at the Driftwood at Holiday Inn, which was honestly one of my favorites.
Okay.
It's like a natural auditorium. It's so cool.
I'd be thinking about the original Driftwood, which was more north side. Yeah. So when you say Driftwood, I'm like, hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But okay.
The new version. The new version.
Like, I think you were too young for that, for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, nice.
And obviously the Bird as well.
Okay. I guess we only have a couple seconds left, not too much time left. So if there's any, I guess, closing words you want to leave with people, this is your time to do it.
Well, if any kind of aspiring musicians out there, people that are young, honestly, it's possible to do it. You just have to go and ask. If you go to the Bird and do these open mic nights, you'll meet these amazing people. And I tell you, the community here is extremely, extremely open. So if you want to ask them anything at any time, go up to any musicians and they'll help you for sure.
Where do people find your music and check you out?
My Instagram is Cam Kline Music. I have a website, camklinemusic.com. all my socials are Cam Kline Music. So I've got everything there. If you guys want to book me, I do private events, weddings, corporate events, things like that, whether it's DJing, live music, all of the information is on there. So, yeah.
Okay, so that's Cam with a C, C-A-M, Kline with a K, K-L-I-N-E. So camklinemusic.com or Cam Kline Music on the social networks as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. Well, check them out, Cayman. We got to go to a late time check and then the 8 a.m. news.
Thank you, Kathy. And studio time now by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
Reduce, reuse, recycle, renew.
More than a mantra, these words are a blueprint for building a sustainable Earth.
A sustainable Cayman.
So, starting April 19th, join Foster's and Priced Right.
With your purchase of $75 or more, you'll be eligible to win a free recycling bin while supplies last to help give our island a breath of renewal.
Putting Earth first isn't just for Earth Month, it's every month.
Learn more on our social channels at Foster's Cayman on Facebook and Instagram.
Or go to fosters.ky.
Foster's, greener because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Going forward, the National Security Council now expects to meet every month. According to minutes from their March 19th meeting, the NCC, chaired by the governor, discussed police, border, and public safety issues. Up first, the NCC got a brief from the Commissioner of Police in relation to the ongoing investigations from the February 25th mass shooting at Ed Bush Stadium in West Bay. They also got updates on other, quote, firearms-enabled offenses, acquisition crime, serious violence, and the sexual exploitation of, quote, young at-risk females. Turning to Customs and Border Control, the department head there updated the council on the number of seizures and operations that took place between February 20th and March 19th, along with statistics regarding irregular migrants. From there, the NCC watched a presentation by the Chief Officer for the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Acting Director of Public Safety Communications on the National CCTV program. Finally, the council agreed to resume monthly meetings. You can find the full minutes online at gov.ky. In other news, it's time to roll up your sleeves and contribute to the cause of a cleaner, greener Earth.
Plastic Free Cayman will be hosting our Earth Day cleanup in collaboration with Red Sail Sports on Saturday, April 27th, 8 until 10 a.m. The location for this month is Lovers Wall in East End, and we're hoping to have as many of you join us as possible.
That's John Scudder from Plastic Free Cayman. He says your help is needed now more than ever.
The plastic problem that we are facing on these islands is massive, but with your help, we're making a difference, and we appreciate you. If you have any questions, please reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook at Plastic Free Cayman. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Again, the cleanup is April 27th at 8 a.m. at Lovers Wall in East End. And the Cayman Islands National Weather Service adds some promising newcomers to its staff. Radio Cayman's Felicie Rankin-Salins has the details.
Dwayne Leslie, Jovain Leslie, and Naya Mothin join as meteorological observer 4 trainees, and Benjamin Harding as a meteorological forecaster trainee. As meteorological observer 4 trainees, their main responsibility will be the taking of regular and special meteorological observations for both aviation and other weather-related purposes. Their remit also includes the sampling of upper-level conditions via radiosonde, balloon-attached sensors release. The observations not only form part of the global meteorological data set used for numerical weather predictions from which weather forecasts can be made, but also form part of the Cayman Islands climatological record. The accuracy of this data is not only paramount for safe aviation operations, but also important to the quality output of global weather and climatological models. Both Dwayne Leslie and Jovain Leslie, as well as Naya Mothin, will be joining an experienced group of meteorological observers who will share practical knowledge of their day-to-day operations to complement their newly acquired technical knowledge. Mr. Harding's role as a meteorological forecaster trainee is geared towards the analysis of various meteorological observational data, satellite images, and model outputs to generate public forecasts for the Cayman Islands as well as aviation forecasts for the Owen Roberts International Airport in Grand Cayman and the Charles Kirkconnell International Airport in Cayman Brac. The provision of pilot briefings conveying forecast information about en route and destination conditions is another aspect of Mr. Harding's duties, which is critical for aviation safety. Mr. Harding will join a group of well-experienced forecasters that will help guide him in his development. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which takes us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
BBC News, I'm John Shea. 5 people have drowned while trying to cross to Britain from France, hours after the British Parliament passed legislation designed to deter such journeys. The new law aims to send people arriving on small boats to Rwanda to have their asylum claims processed. UN officials say fighting in a disputed area of northern Ethiopia has displaced more than 50,000 people. Clashes between rival forces from the Tigray and Amhara regions began a week ago. Political parties and civil society groups in Mali are petitioning the Supreme Court in an attempt to annul a decree by the country's military rulers suspending all political activity. They said the ruling was tyrannical and oppressive. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin are the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Radio Cayman Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
Brought to you by these kind sponsors.
The Cayman Islands Football Association, CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Cayman Insurance Center.
Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets. Call me today, Michael Webster, at 925-5433.
UWI Open Campus, on-site, online, and on demand.
Visit open.uwi.edu. Call them today at 946-8322.
Super Jam.
Also brought to you by
Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your non-stop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
Superior Auto Center. Do it right the first time with Superior Auto.
949-9570
or 525-9571.
Superior Auto.
They keep your car in tune. And Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
The #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
The 8 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 77%. The barometric pressure is 30.00 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east-northeast at 5 knots. Overnight low temperature was 77 degrees. Synopsis indicate light to moderate northeasterly winds and seas are expected for the next 24 hours. in association with a weak ridge of high-pressure system over the northwest Caribbean. Satellite images show a few low-level clouds over Grand Cayman. Now, the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today and tonight is calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the mid-80s today and will fall to the upper 70s tonight. Expect your winds to be east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Today's high tide will occur this morning at 8:27, low tide this afternoon at a minute after 3, and a high tide again tonight at 9:53. The sun will set this evening at 6:44 and will rise tomorrow morning at 2 minutes past 6. And the outlook is calling for moderate winds and seas through Wednesday evening. And that's the very latest on your weather report.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you're going to invest in an exotic pet, choose anything but a Norwegian forest cat. Apparently, they will eat all your jewelry. Before you know it, you're racing to the vet when your cat escapes from his carrier and lunges for your earrings. You crash and your cat swallows your pearls. But if you're smart, you'll have CG Motor Insurance and get the best comprehensive coverage for the price.
Get the best comprehensive coverage for the price. CG Brit-K. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Brit-K, where people come first.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look this time at traffic. Coming off of the Esley-Tibbetts Highway, traffic is steady but flowing. And further east, as we look to the east on Shamrock Road and Rex Creighton Boulevard, traffic is flowing moderately. And steady flowing traffic on the Linford Pearson Highway. There's steady traffic on Crew Road heading to Georgetown. And traffic is steady but flowing coming off of Bobby Thompson Way as well as Agnes Way off the Linford Pearson Highway. And as we look to the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, moving on moderately in both directions. And no issues on Owen Roberts Drive as traffic is light to moderate and flowing moderately coming from the West Bay four-way stop. Huldah Avenue, steady traffic, and that's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes past 12. We'll give you another look at traffic. Remember, click it or ticket.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
Good morning and welcome back to the Business Buzz. That was a fast cue there, Susan. Susan told me about 3 seconds before we were coming back on just now for the second segment of the Business Buzz that we're coming back on. So we were just caught in conversation. We have our guests for the second segment of the Business Buzz this morning from Cayman International School. I'm welcoming Mr. Jim Urquhart. He's the director of Cayman International School. We have Miss Ronjanae DeGray. She's the elementary school learning support in kindergarten, is it? Yes. And we have Miss Andrea Nixon, middle school learning support teacher, and Miss Lea-Anne Corin, who's the high school learning support teacher for grade 9.
And 10.
And 10. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today?
Good. Good morning. We're great.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Well, it's good to have you. Thank you for being here. Nice and early, so you're skipping school this morning for
That's right.
Don't tell anybody. That's okay. You know, we did have Cam Kline in our first segment, who also is a student at Cayman International, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I said, oh, some of your teachers are coming in later. He's like, oh.
They'll know.
Right? I'm like, it's okay. We'll give you a bly this time, Cam. I think it's pretty cool that you're being here to talk about your music career.
Absolutely.
So you know about it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
We've seen him around.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's one of the best things is seeing Cam around Island singing. So I think
nice.
everybody's super proud of him.
Awesome. I love that. Well, in this segment, we are discussing raising independent, resilient, and confident children and lifelong learners. I feel like that's a mouthful of a topic right there for me to put out. But it's a pretty important topic because children are our future. We all have to interact with children, especially you as educators and Jim as a director of CIS. You're there as that leader. So we're going to be talking about some insights and experiences and strategies to help us understand how we can better equip our children for the challenges of life, because there's so many, and really as adults we can all agree that these challenges, they never end, right? Now, let's get right into it. I've read that being able to think and act independently is one of the most important skills that children can develop in the classroom. As an adult, I'm often surprised at how many adults can't think for themselves already, right? But, that's how it goes. As educators, do you believe that teaching independence is a fundamental life skill?
Absolutely. I think, Ronjanae can speak a little bit to what it sounds like and looks like in kindergarten, and then I can talk a little bit more about what it looks like in middle school.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, y'all. Good morning. It's Ronjanae here. So speaking specifically for kindergarten, as I do serve as a learning support teacher in kindergarten, representing elementary school. Big ups to elementary school. Love you guys so much. Just starting in kindergarten, it's very important to identify maybe the strategies for students that help them learn in the classroom environment, and then explicitly teaching those strategies for that student, so then they know, like, this is what I use and this is how I'm successful. And then also fostering that sense of independence of, I know that at this time I need this strategy, or being advocates for themselves. I think the biggest thing to build independency is to build self-advocacy skills, and helping those students learn how to be advocates, and then knowing, like, at this time in the lesson I may struggle with this, or maybe I need this fidget, or if we're sitting down on the carpet, maybe I need this weighted lap pad, and just those different things, specifically speaking for learning support, and helping those students know that this is what I need, and you can be independent with that, but also with the explicit teaching that comes around it.
What is that explicit teaching?
Just really like identifying the fact that this is a tool, not a toy, and being ownerships of it, and then like taking the time. It may take a couple of weeks, it may take a couple sessions inside the classroom, pushing into the classroom in those real-time moments that the students are able to identify, this is what I need, and being there, helping them like each step of the way, not saying this is a tool and having maybe a 5-minute conversation and leaving to their own devices. The explicit teaching comes with actually working in real time when it applies to that specific strategy for that student.
Okay. All right. That was a great answer. I feel like you've had the most coffee out of any of us this morning.
And this is my personality.
Your energy is on 100. I absolutely love it.
Coffee this morning.
Andrea, from a middle school perspective.
So as the students learn and grow, in middle school, gosh, everybody feels a little angsty, a little nervous. That's the whole point of learning and making mistakes. And so much of it is us modeling for them and showing what it looks like over and over again, and kind of doing a gradual release. And then encouraging that positive support as you take on the independence and get it right or get it wrong. Yeah. When you make a mistake, I think the most important thing for fostering independence is saying it's okay. We make mistakes all day long, right, as adults, and you get used to it. But you need to encourage to take that risk. And I really feel like as they get through like the middle school years, that's your time to try to fly on your own. And then we have a net for you. If you fail a little bit.
Oh, I love that. And that's an awesome thing that you said, that we have a net for you if you fail a little bit. And to me, failure is a part of winning. It's not the opposite of it. Mm-hmm. I heard it was actually one of my favorite rappers said that. And I was like, yes, definitely, because we have to learn how to fail in order to know what it's going to take for us to succeed. Right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, and to be prepared, and in case something doesn't work out how we want it to work out, we have to know how to fall back or what happens, and just how to get back up on our own and figure out it again.
Yeah. So in the high school, I was going to piggyback on what Andrea said about risk-taking. We have the IB curriculum for grade 11 and 12, which is the International Baccalaureate. And so we're preparing students in 9 and 10 to take that program. And one of the IB learner profiles is risk-taking, and I think that that is the one that relates most closely to building independent thinkers, because a lot of students come into high school and they want to get everything right.
Right.
So they're so scared to make a mistake, and when they have that fear of even trying, they really struggle to build their own independence. They struggle to learn as well. So continually saying it's okay to fail as long as we learn from our mistakes is a really, really important message.
Why do you think that, especially in high school, once they reach those kind of like 2 final senior years of school, that they're so afraid to fail? Is it a part of conditioning, or thinking that, okay, universities want you to be absolutely perfect and that you have to...
Yeah, and I think it's all the messages that they pick up, from their parents. There's a lot of pressure coming in from the outside, from their parents, from students that have gone before them, from their peers, and there's a lot of mixed messages that might not always be correct for them. So they kind of build their own little picture, and it's up to us to help them understand what learning looks like and what advocating for yourself looks like in the classroom, and modeling it for them, and then being there for constant reminders when they are trying to get everything right. And you have to say, you guys can get this wrong. This is the time to get it wrong. That safety net is an important message. I repeatedly say that in my classroom. This is the time to blurt out an answer that you think might be right, and then we'll all try and figure out why it is right or it isn't right.
Right.
It's really the why behind, I think.
Okay.
I think students really just want to get the skills right so they get an answer correct instead of trying to figure out why. And I think that's what's so brilliant about the IB program is students are learning about the why, trying to really deepen their understanding.
Kind of develop those critical thinking skills a little deeper. Mm-hmm. Jimmy, you wanted to add?
Yeah, adding to that part of it too is we mentioned independence. Kathy is at that age, the students are realizing, oh, this is on me too. Mm-hmm. And that first realization that it's not just my teacher, my brother, sister, mom, dad, favorite aunt, favorite uncle, and that internal realization sometimes weighs a little bit heavy. And that's a wonderful thing, I think, whether in school, whether in elementary school, middle school, or high school, is part of that self-reflection. And piggybacking on the IB learner trait of risk-taking, I prefer the word courageous. And I know the IB is one time looking at that, because when we think risk, okay, I'm gonna skydive in a dangerous spot. I'm a risk taker. Woo! But it's more the notion of being courageous in taking that risk where you might be feeling uncomfortable. And with that independence, mention the work with the parents and that partnership, and for us as parents to be comfortable with those days where your child goes, did you bring your running shoes? No. Well, I'm going to bring your running shoes in for you. Well, that doesn't really help with the independence, right?
Jim, I do this with friends today that are in their 40s.
Oh no, yeah, no. I have it each morning. My wife says, Jim, do you have your name tag with you? Oh, yes. But it's important sometimes to let those mistakes happen, because we know as adults we can do that.
Right.
And it's easier to watch. If like it's a radio show being run by students, it's going to be a little bit rocky and bumpy here and there. There's going to be phenomenal highs and some lows, and you go, and that's important to have that moment, because that's where the learning happens.
Yep.
And the independence, for that matter.
So when we say independence, what does it mean to be independent? I think as adults we have our own idea of what that is, but children might have a totally different take on what being an independent thinker is.
I think ownership. Independence is ownership in taking the responsibility and even the pride in what you're going through, or even your learning journey. I find in kindergarten, it's really just owning the fact that I am a learner, I am in charge of my education, and with ownership comes independence.
Okay. I like that.
Thank you.
What about you, Andrea? What do you think?
I would say it's the same thing. It kind of growing along, and by the time that you're in middle school, being independent really means kind of being able to do things by yourself and be responsible for. It's the first step of what Jim was talking about, where I think that students feel like they have more of the autonomy and that they're more, especially with their organization or executive functioning skills, like getting everything in on time, feeling like I've got this, I know what my day is bringing ahead, and that I own my learning. It's still going along with that idea, but feeling like you can take a risk at the same point and coming back and saying, at this point, I know exactly what I want to get out of this assignment, and I know where I want to take it, where I want to grow, and going to your teacher to look for that growth, I think is a huge part of really like thinking about where your learning journey is going along.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's similar, except they're a little bit more mature. And so I'd use the word accountability for their own learning. And I think it's very difficult for them to mature through this process and really take accountability. I'm thinking of giving tests back to students. I think we often have to work at them looking at the learning from an assessment, test or assignment, but looking at the learning rather than just what the grade is. So there's this fixation in terms of perfection to have only A's, maybe B's,
right.
And they just get fixated on that. How did you get that? Where did you get the points from to give me an A or a B, as opposed to maybe what did I not learn? And that's where building accountability for learning comes from, is being able to help them see the learning in reflecting on what you're giving back to them or what they've given to you, and analyzing not the grade, but the learning in that assessment or assignment.
I think it's interesting that you bring up the testing, because testing doesn't necessarily always bring out the best in people. You can be a fantastic learner and have all this knowledge, but it could be something about the pressure of tests where somebody just absolutely, I guess, for lack of a better word right now, fails. You know, their knowledge doesn't necessarily come through that way. So it's I guess I would also be trying to figure out, how can we bring that learning forth, or what is it about the tests that we need to kind of get you over that challenge as well?
And that's a big part of our jobs in learning support, is identifying those students that do have difficulties in those particular situations and how we can support them to better show their learning and understanding.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Because it would be daunting if nobody was there to help support you in that, and you're like, but I know these things, I just can't. You know, you can have exceptional writers, but not necessarily great public speakers. And it doesn't mean that they don't have the knowledge. They just freeze when they get up on a stage or have to address people, right?
And I think a lot of part of our learning support, when I look at independence when they come into middle school in 6th grade and by the time they leave in 8th grade, a lot of it is reflected in their less independence on me. In 6th grade, they're coming to your learning support teacher all the time. Like, Miss, I need help with this. I need help with that. Like, how do I advocate for myself? And by 8th grade, it's really being able to say, hey, I have a hard time with public speaking. Here's what I need to be successful. And when they get to that point of advocacy and saying, this is what I need, that's huge. And that's independent blossom. It really does. Okay. And that's when I look at them and say, you got it. You've got there. You've taken ownership of your learning. I'm ready with a tear in my eye to see you go to high school. It's just across the quad. But it really is. I do. It's what we strive for, and it's our goal for all students to get there. And honestly, they hit that point at different times, but they do. And you can see when it's like the penny drops. Okay. And they've got it.
I love that. I think that's a huge life skill right there, because no matter at what stage in life, it can be really hard to ask for help. So whether you can't figure it out, whether you're in school or whether you're later years as an adult, asking for help can be really, really hard and trying to figure something out. So, you know, kudos to you as educators and trying to help bring that out in children and students. Now, classrooms can be up like upwards of 20 students. I'm not sure what it is at CIS. I remember back in my day, it was like about an average of 27 to 30 kids. I don't know if that's still normal. But in that sense, how do you foster independence in learning when there's so many children to deal with?
Yeah, I think part of that, when you mentioned the class size, is one thing that we work to do, is make sure the class sizes are smaller, so there's greater individualized attention, so that they're not just being supported in the classroom. And we're talking about independence in the classroom and independence in learning, and the vast majority of a child's day in life is actually outside of school. So to make sure that they're also making their best decisions that they're comfortable with when they're, you know, walking across the street, helping with a meal at home, addressing a difficult pressure from a peer.
Right.
And to make and so it's important that their independent learning definitely transcends just the pen and paper, if you will, and to help do that. So the class sizes that people are working in vary, but usually run between 15 and 18.
Okay.
Which allows, and with Ronjanae and Lea-Anne and Andrea and other members of their team pushing into the classroom, that often means that there'll be a ratio of maybe 2 adults to 16 students. And so not just supporting the students that may have a identified need for support, but everybody, because we all need support. Kathy, you mentioned that you're not a morning person. I guarantee I'm not a morning person, and yet we're here because we're independent learners.
The coffee is my support. All right, we got to go to a commercial break right now, and when we come back, we will continue our discussion with Cayman International School.
Investing in our children's academic success and future career is a no-brainer. Isn't it time we stop with the excuses? With 100% math, you can take charge now. There's no reason for your children to fall behind in math again. Since 2011, 100% Math has prepared students for exams in IB, HL, SL Math, and CSEC and enrichment programs for gifted students. Visit 100%math.com or call or WhatsApp 547-9817. That's 547-9817. No more excuses. Set your child up for success today with 100% Math.
Healthcare Pharmacy, caring about your health for the past 25 years. Radio Cayman's premier health show.
Alzheimer's and dementia, are they the same disorder?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Is heard on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor, where they care about your health. Transfer and refill your prescription online. Visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or call 947-8900. Healthcare Pharmacy, now with a second location in Governor's Square. Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health.
This is Catherine Ebanks-Wilkes, and as the representative for West Bay Central and the Ministry for Sustainability and Climate Resiliency, I am concerned that our islands are at a high risk of loss and damage to seagrass beds. Stronger storms, warmer sea temperatures, and sea level rise can destroy seagrass beds. Culturally and economically important animals like green sea turtles and conch need seagrass to survive. To learn more about the climate risk to our islands, visit www.gov.ky/climate change policy.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Business Buzz. I am Kathy Miller, your host, and in studio with me this morning from Cayman International School, I have Director Jim Urquhart. We have Ronjanae DeGray. She's the elementary school learning support for kindergarten. We have Andrea Nixon, middle school learning support teacher, and Lea-Anne Corin, the high school learning support teacher for grades 9 and 10. Now, right before we were at the break, we were talking about fostering independence in the classroom. And I wanted to ask you, Ronjanae, before we went to the break, because I would think that in the other grades, so Andrea, you have middle school, Lea-Anne, you have 9 and 10, personalities are more developed by this time. But for you, Ronjanae, like you have kids in kindergarten.
Yeah.
So to me, their personalities are still really developing,
yes.
You know? So when it comes to that and you're trying to teach kids how to be independent and think on their own, I would think that has to be especially daunting, because I would look at my friend and be like, okay, what is she doing? And
yeah.
Or he, right?
Yeah. No, so hey y'all, it's me, Ronjanae, again. I love kindergarten specifically because It's like in Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And each day, like this 5 or 6 year old may just be having a day. And we have to figure out how can we help this kid. Really keeps me on my toes. If anything, like my heart is for kindergarten. I love it. It's so much fun. But fostering independence, I feel that early on, there has to be structure. And then you give children the structure and you give them the independence within the structure. And as they get older, the structure kind of loosens up a little bit, right? So when they get in the morning, they know to put their hats and their water bottles away. We don't have to coach them. We don't have to let them know what to do. Like, of course, the first couple of weeks of school, and then they're independent in that. Then they know to have a seat on the carpet. They know how to sit on the carpet. Those students who need to wiggle a little bit and move around a little bit, I'll wiggle and I'll move right there with them. But just giving them the independence in the structure throughout the day. So then you move to the next thing and the next thing. And then as you continue to build on from the beginning of the day up until 3 o'clock when everybody is spent, Jim, when you think about the hours of the school day. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm kidding. We just learn to build up the independence within the students in that structure. And I find it to be the funnest thing because some days they may come in and they may get it. And then another day they may be like, what are you talking about? I don't know what to do. And that's what I'm there for, to help them know what to do. It is so much fun. I love kindergarten.
So structure is a big thing for you.
Yes, structure is huge.
I would say from COVID, I learned how important structure was to me. Like I needed to have structure. I couldn't just, of course we'd love the days to just kind of waste away and do whatever we want, but I need to have structure in order to get things done.
Yeah.
But I will definitely say that come middle school, we didn't have middle school in Canada, so it was just after 7th grade, it was straight into high school. So definitely come high school, 8th grade to 12th, I was a complete havoc in our school. So I would say any kind of structure that I had, I threw it out the window and I was a terror for my teachers. Do you find, Andrea, that kind of breaks down for children as they get to the middle school age?
I used to teach elementary, and then I came into middle school when I joined CIS, and I was so nervous, like thinking, this is an age range I'm not sure developmentally like what they go through, and I love it. It is such a fun age to watch and see how they come into the school, trying to figure out who they are. They're really looking at themselves, and they come in with one friend group and they might develop and change and figure out, oh, actually I'm really interested in drama and I've never done that before, or I'm more interested in sports, or I have a passion for English I didn't know I had. And they're kind of trying to sort it out. So they come in a little bit of chaos at some points of trying to go down all these paths. And that's what I think makes it amazing to support them and say, this is normal.
Okay.
That's how you should feel. This is your time to do that and to kind of figure it all out and go, oh, you know what? That's not me. I'm actually going to change it up now and I'm going to go down this path. And as they settle and they get ready for high school, you can see that they do kind of settle more into themselves of who they want to be. And that's why I love having the separation of the 6th through 8th grade and the high school. Yeah. Because a lot of it is them making what, for want of a better word, a mistake, what they envision as a mistake.
Right.
And I think they feel a lot more safe in doing that when it's just a couple of grade levels who are all doing exactly the same thing and it's the same level of chaos. And then they go on into high school and they're really, they have more of a vision about what they want to get and where they're going to go with that. And they can focus with that new sense of themselves, again, right across the quad. But to them, it feels so different. So I love that part of middle school. It really is a growing and developing time that's pretty unique.
Okay. What about you? What do you think, Lea-Anne?
About the
structure,
group,
yeah,
the structure.
Because when I said, I threw it all out the window when I hit 8th grade and through high school. So do you find that they lose that structure or they gain it
Well,
again?
I think that the chaos has subsided by the time they get to high school, for sure, and that is why I also love that middle school is separate here. But I also think that the attention pivots. And in high school, there is a huge emphasis placed on peer acceptance. And so they start more and more detaching themselves from what their families might think of them, and all of their attention goes to how do my peers accept me. And I think we so often have to think about how we build around that in positive ways for their learning. You alluded earlier, Jim, to being resilient against peer influences that are negative, and so much of what we do takes that into account. because in high school they are so fixated on what their peers think about them.
Right. Yeah, I can remember that.
Yeah. Being accepted. And that's a huge thing about feeling like you belong somewhere, is do my people accept me? And it's a big deal in high school.
Right. Well, it's about finding your tribe in that kind of sense. So
Yeah.
if you feel like they don't, you definitely feel a little left out, a little, do I really belong here? And a whole bunch of other things can kind of stem from that.
Yeah.
So that's that kind of leads me into my next question then. So what would be some of the obstacles that prevent students from becoming more independent? You said peer pressure.
Yeah.
For example, would be one of them.
Yeah, I do think it's that. And then I think as well, and this is just the age that we live in for our older kids, it's being distracted by things that we didn't have when we were at school, like technology and devices. And I do think that we have to find ways as educators to help them understand that those distractions are not helping them become independent thinkers. But at the same time, it is the world that they face. So we also have to figure out how are they going to use those things to be independent thinkers. So it's this kind of quandary of we have to give a little and take a little. But I don't think that they don't know that from the onset.
Yeah.
They need help with the, when do I turn it off?
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
So we have to have those boundaries.
Ronjanae, for you with dealing with the kindergarten students, what are the obstacles in their way from kind of developing independence?
I think the biggest thing is enablement, because we see them as little 5 and 6 year olds and we don't really fully understand how powerful a 5 and 6 year old can be, how resilient they can be, how much they can actually prove to us and show like, no, this is what I know and I can be this independent child. So we want to hold them and keep them close to our heart and not essentially push them out of the nest because they're so early in their education, right? They have a lifetime to go of continuing to learn. So let's hold them as close as we can to ourselves. At least that's how I look at it, right? I look at them as like the babies of the school, and I just want to hold your hand and I want to make sure you're safe. But then it's like also giving them the grace to learn and to know like you are going to have some areas where you're going to have to learn a little bit the hard way, and I have to let you be able to do that. So I will say mainly like adults, I feel like we can with enablement, but then also giving them grace at the same time can be an obstacle as well.
I think giving grace, period, in life is such a good thing to keep in mind, whether it's to other people and to ourselves, definitely. And Andrea, for you, what have you seen as some of the obstacles that might hinder a student from developing independence?
We're back to that middle child here again in middle school. We're in between the two. And what I find is it's really looking at the child themselves and figuring out, what do you need to be independent? Because some of the students at that age aren't ready to be as independent. And I'm asking parents like, hey, we really need to take a step back, and I do need you to help put that structure in until we can get there. And then recognizing when they are there and letting them try on their own. Okay. So it's really figuring out exactly at what point you allow them, like Ronjanae saying, you allow them to walk that hallway by themselves. At what point am I letting you do your homework by yourself and letting you take ownership of it? But kind of on each individual child's pace. And I think a lot of that's where our parent communication comes in really handy. We work a lot really closely with families. Okay. So we can help to guide you and say, okay, we're at this point now. Here's what I would recommend we all do next. And then we're all on the same page. And when we all communicate about the strategies that we're going to use, then the independence happens. But if I'm, on one side we're saying, you can do this independently, and somebody else is like, I'm still going to do it for you. That's where the obstacle kind of comes into play. So I feel like that part's a huge communication piece.
Right. That's true. There's been one word that's been mentioned a couple times, and it's part of our theme here and our topic, really, and it was resilience. So I know, Lea-Anne, you've said it. Ronjanae, you said it. Jim, you really brought up resilience in students. So what do we mean when we're saying, we want resilience in students, or we want to teach them resilience? What does that encompass?
Okay, that might be that's a loaded question.
I thought it was
for
pretty
me,
broad.
It's broad, and because I might fall into the category of old man, hey, kids, get off my lawn. For that.
That's me in front of my door already. Okay. Old or young, I'm like, why are you at my door?
Part of that resilience is being comfortable with being uncomfortable, knowing that there isn't going to be the right or wrong answer. And to gain that comfort level is very, very difficult, particularly in our world today when there's evidence of greater polarization. No, this is right. No, this is wrong.
Right.
And the notion that to get resilient, if you will, you have to experience some bumps and bruises, whether they be metaphorical through social things or physical. And we tend to protect children much more than, say, when we were younger. When you think, you're mentioning, Kathy, in your skateboarding career, there's probably times when your parents didn't have a clue where you were.
Oh, they never knew.
They never knew, right? And I knew that as long as I was home by 6 p.m., that was before my parents got home from work, that I didn't get a spanking.
Right.
And if I was later, then I didn't. So between those times, I was up to things.
Right.
And I think right now, how the world is, we have so many adults making decisions for kids, because as adults, apparently, we know what's best. And sometimes, I think Ronjanae and Lea-Anne mentioned, sometimes adults, we get in the way of our kids' resilience. Because to experience resilience, you need bumps and bruises. And to get bumps and bruises, you need to be able to make mistakes. And so, unfortunately, there's lots of work being written about resilience, and you can't read resilience. Oh, I read a book. Now I'm resilient. The world needs you need some bumps and bruises, and I think we're not comfortable as much as we used to be with that.
I agree. There's a lot more, from what I see, there seems to be a lot more pampering and kind of hiding children. There's a word that's not coming to my mind, probably because it's still early.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, that word's not coming to my mind. But it's just a lot of that protection. And as you said, not allowing them to make certain decisions. But that is how we learn. That is how we grow. So how would you... I think we got to go to a commercial break, so I'm going to let you stem on this one.
Okay.
We think about it before we go to the commercial break, but how do you teach children to bounce back from setbacks and failures and to kind of, I guess, learn how to be resilient? So I'm going to leave you with that question. We got to go to our next commercial break right now, and then when we come back, we're going to hear from our panelists here at Cayman International School.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
The Department of Environmental Health would like to advise the public that the annual bulk waste collection will once again take place in May in preparation for hurricane season and replacing the traditional year-end collection. Residents are urged to prepare and separate their items ahead of the week assigned for collection in their respective areas. Any bulk waste that is put out after the announced dates will not be collected. Household appliances, furniture, and other items too large to be handled by the weekly DEH collection crews should be placed by the roadside where it is easily accessible to the DEH collection crews. Metals and vegetation should also be separated from other bulk items. Do not obstruct the roadway or storm drains or place tires, construction and demolition waste, hazardous materials, or electronics. For more information on the bulk waste collection, please contact the DEH's Solid Waste Management Section at 949-6696.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261. Radio Cayman. Send a text or voice note.
Message us at 925-3261 on WhatsApp today and get active with Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
The Business Buzz each and every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 7:30 a.m. Brought to you by
Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services. And 100% Math. Invest in your child's academic success. Visit 100%math.com or call 547-9817.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
Good morning and welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm Kathy Miller and we have guests in studio this morning. We're on our kind of last 10 minutes or so with guests from Cayman International School. We were talking about the theme, raising independent, resilient, and confident children and lifelong learners. I've been really focused on the independence part. We're starting to talk about the resilience part right now. And before the break, I did ask our guests here about how we teach children to bounce back from our setbacks or failures and how we teach them to be resilient. So I guess, Ronjanae, being the kindergarten, being the really young kids, I'll start with you.
Okay. Hey, y'all. Good morning again. Really, in kindergarten, we like to teach the growth mindset, the importance of using your effort to learning over your innate talent or intelligence. We like to foster the idea of embracing challenges, setbacks, seeking support from adults when it is appropriate to help you continue to grow in your mindset. And I also feel like modeling within the school day, right? Like spelling a word wrong on the board and allowing the students to catch it, or calling a student by the wrong name, or even just simply like maybe accidentally tripping, and modeling how we respond to those behaviors or those failures or areas of growth, essentially, to show the students that this is an appropriate response. And yes, you may cry those tears a little bit, but also partnering with our counselors and meeting with them. And our counselors come into the classroom and they have those lessons that they teach throughout the school day or even the year, and being able to see what are the strategies that our counselors are using. As learning support, we work very closely with our counselors, and even for our more sensitive population at the school, and even in elementary with the social emotional learners who may have those difficulties, and partnering with them and figuring out what strategies and what ways, maybe what verbiage, what modeling can we use to help our students grow. But I think the biggest thing is to teach that growth mindset, but also to model, because you don't really understand and realize how much students or younger students are sponges until they start to do what it is that you're doing. Like, for example, I say sugarfoot a lot, and sugarfoot is very my censored way of using profane language in the classroom. And a lot of the students will use sugarfoot as well. I'm like, you heard me say sugarfoot. So that's just a simple example of just modeling is super important, is very key when teaching resilience in young learners.
Okay, I like that. Thank you. I like that. What about for you, Andrea?
Well, a couple of the things we continue on, like as modeling making mistakes. I was spelling onomatopoeia yesterday, and I can never remember how to spell that word. I was like, we got to hit Google. Watch how I look it up. And then the other part is I love the visual idea for them. I always describe a learning pit. Right? If you can picture that you're going up a hill and then you go down into this learning pit and you're at the bottom, and then you make strides to climb out each time, right? That you're learning a new skill. And then we get to the top, we have a celebration, and I'm like, great, you know where we're going? Mm-hmm. We're going right back in that pit because I'm going to teach you something new. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to know how to do it, and it's going to be really hard, and it's not going to feel good at first. And it's this idea of developing resilience in the sense that there's always something new on the horizon that you need to challenge yourself to get to. Because if you've learned what I've taught you, that's amazing, but we don't want to sit and rest there.
Right. It doesn't end there.
No. And we're going into something new. And that's something we do all the way through adulthood. But you've got to learn this idea that you are not going to then hit this point where you're perfect at everything and stay there forever. And I think the more comfortable you become with getting the bumps and the bruises and the hard points, then that's when your resilience develops and you almost go looking for it. I'm like, that's something I don't know how to do. I want to learn that next. And that's the goal. And you'll hear me talk about the learning pit all the time.
Okay. One thing I like about that learning pit is that you said that we'll learn how to climb out of it, we'll reach the top, and we'll celebrate.
Yes.
So I find a lot of people won't necessarily celebrate their accomplishments or success or whatever it might be, whatever goals they hit. I find a lot of people just don't. They either taught, be humble, or, don't celebrate this, or it's not the time yet. And I think for me, I personally think that's kind of a wrong way of doing things. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small you may think they are. It's a win, you know?
You have to, because what is the desire to go back down there and to try something new if you're not going to celebrate yourself? And essentially, eventually you want it to be an intrinsically motivated. You want to celebrate yourself. But in order to get there, it's the same way as Ronjanae talking about, they follow your language that you do outwardly. You have to say it for kids at first. You have to do a huge celebration. And you'll hear me going down the hallway telling everybody,
Absolutely.
Do you know what so-and-so learned today? Come on over here. Let me show you this paper. Or let me share it with them. And that way they learn this idea that you should celebrate your wins. That is huge. And it also motivates you to go back in that learning pit and try something new again and to climb out again. So you're absolutely right.
And it instills confidence.
It does.
Yeah. That's how I look at it. It definitely instills confidence.
Yeah, building confidence is key.
Yes. And for you, Lea-Anne, what would you say?
Well, I actually think this one doesn't really change. And I think the theme is being comfortable with being uncomfortable. But I would go back to what Ronjanae says. Even though I'm working in the high school, I think we have to model it all the time. And going back and pointing out, I made a mistake and I'm okay with that. This is what I learned from it is important for kids to see that adults also make mistakes. And adults have different levels of resiliency too.
Yes.
And it's important for high school students to see this as they start to think about what kind of adult do I want to be? Do I want to be the kind of adult that gets up and tries again and is okay to push myself and get into these places where I don't feel comfortable, but I know I'm going to grow from them? So we have to show them that for sure, because you can't read it in a book. And the other thing that you touched on was the counselors and the work that counselors do with them. We also have that in high school. But in middle school and high school, we have homerooms because they see different subject teachers for all of their subjects, which is different from the elementary school. But having that one point of contact every day is a place where we can model these things, give them the right messages, teach them why it's okay to get up after you fall down and why it's important to have these bumps and bruises along the way. That maybe their report cards went out last week and they didn't get everything that they were hoping for. But it's okay, because now we have these 6 weeks ahead of us, and these are the things that we can do to pick ourselves up and be stronger and be better learners. So I think homeroom is key, but it kind of stems from what Ronjanae was saying as well. So it's just the next step at each level, but all the same processes.
Okay. I guess you have some students who just get it, who just develop resiliency. Some have it from they're very young. For some, it's just doom and gloom, and they can never see a brighter way or, a way forward, which is unfortunate. So is there any, I guess, tools or strategies with the students that you see are really lacking resilience? Is there any tools or strategies that you would use kind of in each level of their education to kind of help build that resiliency?
I think in elementary specifically, like allowing the students to hit that frustration point, but hit that frustration point with support, and identifying how can we identify our frustration level, what are we feeling, and talking through those feelings, and giving the students strategies, right? So for example, I have students that maybe not want to speak to me and they don't want to tell me what's going on with them. So I'll hand them my little feelings card and I'll say, tell me how you're feeling. And they'll tell me that they're feeling frustrated. And I feel like even us as adults, we have to be open and vulnerable with our students as well. They may see us as Superwoman, Superman, but we're also human as well. So I will communicate to my students, hey, sometimes Miss Ronjanae's feeling sad and I might be even frustrated. This is what I did to get me back to our calm zone, is what we'll like to call it. And even in a classroom, creating a calm down corner for the students and identifying those different strategies. Maybe they like to hug on a stuffy or have a weighted lap pad or squeeze a ball or something that can help them get back to themselves. Or if they want to seek out a counselor, if they want to seek out and talk to their teacher, maybe staying a little bit for recess to figure that out and talk through those emotions. I feel like identifying and celebrating those moments, because I am the biggest cheerleader in elementary. You are going to hear my voice and celebrate those kids, because once you get to that next step in your education, you're ready to go.
you being the biggest cheerleader, again, is one of those things towards building confidence.
Yes, I love it.
Do you see that difference with the students that you've taught?
Yes, I will say I do, because they come very shy, come very timid. And I, of course, have to warm myself up to them and allow them to warm up to me. And when I push into the classroom, I definitely like to create an environment that Miss Ronjanae is the 5th teacher in kindergarten. I'm not specific for different students, because then there can be a negative connotation when you see me come into the classroom like, oh, Miss Ronjanae is here for that student. There they go. But then now I have students like actually saying, can I go with you when I'm leaving out with a group of my friends? Or I have students like crying like, I want to go with you, but at that point you don't need my support anymore, so now you can be in the classroom. So it's so much fun. I love it.
Awesome. And Miss Andrea.
So I think one of the biggest things when students are struggling with resiliency is in middle school is to help them identify the level of their problems. We work a lot on that and kind of narrowing it down. Is this like a level 1 problem? Like if something really like you forgot your PE uniform, we have extras. Like we can come up with a solution to it.
Okay.
To there, our kids have a lot going on, and there is some huge challenges that they do face. And I think it's really looking at what is the thing that's hindering them in developing this resiliency, and how can we find the support for those huge problems as well. And that's where working, and you keep hearing us saying, working with our counselors, working with the teachers, because we're a team. And it really is about finding everything that child needs to succeed. And I think when you look at the root of what's going on, that's really powerful. So identifying the level of each of the problems and helping them to figure that out too.
Okay. Did you have anything to add with that, Lea-Anne?
I was just thinking of 3 questions, and this is probably more for a bigger thing than I left my PE uniform at home. But talking through what went well, that's celebrating. What did not go so well, talks to accountability. And then now what, which is solution building.
Right.
So in terms of a tool, I think that's probably a strategy that I would go to with building resiliency.
I think that's a great one. I think we could use that at all levels of life. Really. We have the show is supposed to have ended by now. So I'm going to give any final thoughts that you would like to share for our listeners. I know we couldn't get through everything today, but we've had a great conversation so far. But if there's any final thoughts you want to leave when it comes to building lifelong learners, confidence, resiliency, and independent thinkers.
I think kind of encapsulating those things, being independent and being resilient, is lifelong learning, and many lessons that we learn in school or at home or the playground or the skate park, we apply those when we might be 40, 45, 60, because children's at play is actually our work. And as adults, you can learn about a person, an adult, and how they play, and how we apply that is true lifelong learning. And so lifelong learning is a long game.
It absolutely is. It's the long tail of things, as I've learned when it comes to marketing, what the long tail is. So it is that all those skills that you learn that just kind of build toward everything that you're trying to achieve. And learning is lifelong for sure. So I would say to any students that might be not at school right now and are listening, and even for adults right now, learning doesn't ever stop. And you can always choose to learn a new skill, go into a different career, whatever it might be. But learning doesn't ever stop. It's just support yourself along the way. I guess that's what I would end with. Any other words? We're good.
Thanks
for having us.
Right. Thank you so much. And let's go to the 9 a.m. headline news.
The Business Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services.
And 100% math. Invest in your child's academic success. Visit 100%math.com or call 547-9817.
Covering Little Cayman, Kim and Brad.
Radio Cayman